Thanks for joining for episode 11. If you guys are ready to check out some wild videos together, then let's jump right in.
In some of my recent videos, I spoke about how the wildlife in our oceans have been acting extremely strange. I initially mentioned how whales and dolphins were huddling up into large groups before beaching and unaliving themselves with little to no explanation behind it. But now it's been reported that hundreds or possibly thousands of sharks have been spotted in large groups, swimming close to the shore and even attacking people. The attacks occurred on June 7th off the coast of Florida, which resulted in 3 injuries, 2 of which lost limbs, and debates have begun to spawn about the erratic and strange behavior of these sharks altogether. One side believes that this is completely normal and that sharks are bound to be in the water since they live there, while the other side believes that this is yet another sign that there is something in the ocean scaring the wildlife closer to the shore, or that there is something wrong with the ocean itself causing the marine life to become irritated and aggressive. Now, I obviously don't know for sure what's going on in the waters, but I do find it very interesting that there's been a lot of recent reports of military activity in Florida and in the ocean. That can be completely unrelated, but leave a like and let me know what you think about all this in the comments.
More ocean life going nuts. Now, he mentions the military in this video. Keep in mind, this is Florida, and right now we do have Russia over in Cuba with nuclear subs somewhere off the coast of Florida. I also heard that these sharks may be coming to shore due to orcas. Apparently there's a pair of them that have been hunting sharks up and down the African coast. So it's possible that that could be a cause for why they're coming ashore. If it were only sharks acting strange, then I would say, case closed. But we're also seeing other wildlife going wild still as well, including whales and sea lions. And it's not just limited to Florida. That video of the whales that beached themselves that were screaming was particularly gut-wrenching. Now, I think, of course, most likely there's a natural, reasonable explanation. Could be a school of fish moved closer to land, so that's why sharks and whales chased them. Who knows? But it's also very likely that they're trying to flee from loud sounds. I've mentioned previously things like sonar blasting and underwater activity with submarines can cause animal life to go a little wild. And if there is a nuclear sub that was loitering or roaming around the Florida coasts, it's possible that animals may have been just fleeing from the sub. On the other hand, there's a lot of talk that they might be fleeing from some new predator that's entered the ecosystem. While I like to stay skeptical, part of me believes it, There's just been a lot of real weird stuff in the ocean lately, and it does make me wonder, is it possible that Leviathan is free? I saw a video where some scientists were talking about a giant body of water located below our oceans that's got a mass of something like 7 times all of the water that's on the surface. So if there is a giant body of water below our feet within the crust, is it possible that there are larger creatures, perhaps ancient, perhaps biblical, that are down in that depth? We've also seen seismic activity at a very deep depth, I believe it was 10,000 meters. Is it possible that seismic activity is large creatures, or is it just something geological? There's also a giant hole in the ocean down near Antarctica. Supposedly that hole runs down into this other body of water. Is it possible that some barrier was breached there, allowing larger animals to surface? I saw another video that showed a deep-sea anglerfish that washed ashore. Apparently that's not something that's meant to happen. Following that, I saw another video of other deep-sea aquatic life, things that are not meant to be seen by people. They live too far down, and they're starting to show up in higher, warmer waters. Makes me wonder, perhaps they're following the path of some larger creature that broke through that barrier. But what do you guys think? Is this stuff going on in the ocean? Some kind of government weapons experiments? Is it Leviathan? Or is it something else entirely? Let me know in the comments.
The purpose of the prohibition is so much more different than
what we were told.
Surface level. At the time, people were using alcohol to fuel their cars and their homes. So they were using it as energy. And they were creating their own alcohol. So basically everybody, it was a common practice to collect all your food scraps and ferment them in your home and it was a completely renewable and easily attainable form of energy. And then they just banned it. They said you can't make it, you can have it in your house. And they said it burns so cleanly, we wouldn't have any of the harmful environmental effects that we have today if we had continued this practice.
I've never heard that in my entire life.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
crazy.
wild. That gave me goosebumps.
It's crazy. I mean, obviously cars these days aren't manufactured in such a way
Right.
that you could use it, but that's purposeful also.
Pour a little bit of moonshine in there. That'll get it going.
That'll get you
What was
going real
that?
good. Think about it. What we truly know is that the elites that were making those decisions were still drinking.
Yeah.
They were still drinking during the
Yeah.
Prohibition.
That
They'd have
makes
their
so
own
much more
energy.
sense.
There's no money in that if you can sustain yourself.
What was that Shia LaBeouf movie?
Oh yeah, Lawless.
Dude,
So good.
that-
This is the first time I have heard anybody connect prohibition to the energy industry. I had to dig into this a little bit, and after a quick search, this chick's onto something. I found that the two largest contributors financially to push for prohibition were John D. Rockefeller and Henry Ford. I think enough said on that note. If Rockefeller and Ford financed prohibition, I think it does stand to reason that it's because alcohol threatened the energy industries. You know what happens if you threaten any energy industry. You either get unalived or you get made illegal. Same thing happened with hemp. It's the reason why cannabis is illegal. Hemp threatened the textiles and energy industry through hemp oil. So I think she's correct here. I always assume that the reason the government or a history book tells us for something to have happened is never the actual reason why said thing happened. After looking at it, I feel confident in saying, case closed, prohibition had nothing to do with drinking alcohol and was financed by, again, John D. Rockefeller and Henry Ford so as to prevent alcohol from damaging their bottom line. How about that?
Wait a minute. Hold up. Is everybody blind right now? Is that what's going on? Earlier I came across this video which I thought was a standalone thing, so I made a video about a doctrine not understanding the severity of what was happening right now in the United States. So we had the Hebrew Israelites out in full effect today, right? But at the same exact time, we have this going on at the same exact time. How coincidental.
We lay ultimate claim to the pride of our mighty nation's legacy. Because without the race of men that built America, without the...
Did that literally not sound like something that was written beforehand? And both sides of this were very, very organized. The most organized I've ever even seen the Hebrew Israelites. So this weekend, we have both extremes going on at the same exact time. I could give a crap less about each one of y'all's skin colors. Y'all better listen to me and listen good. My opinion, this will not end well.
All right, listen up and listen good. This is very important. The powers that be who run our world want a civil war. They want us to fight. It's that simple. The Patriot Front is the FBI. Anyone who's taken even 5 minutes to follow them can figure that out. The Patriot Front is there to stoke the fires of rebellion. The World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and many other groups want a one world government. They want unilateral, top-down control of every nation. They are doing this through immigration. They are doing this through identity politics. And they are doing this by faking protests to stoke the flames of revolution. This is a very dangerous situation. It's dangerous because we are drawing closer and closer to somebody actually firing those first shots that starts a civil war. This is an excuse for them to bring in UN peacekeepers to lock down our country and usher in the New World Order. We already have hundreds of thousands, I'm going to say that again, hundreds of thousands of United Nations and Chinese military soldiers on U.S. soil. They are waiting for marching orders. Similar to what our gentleman in this video says, I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your creed or background is. You are an American. You came to America. You assimilate to American culture and American values. You are their enemy. You love freedom. They don't. You love choice. They love the illusion of choice. Presidents are not elected, they are selected. They are all blood relatives to each other. Alex Jones exposed this decades ago at the Bohemian Grove. People need to wake up and realize the enemy is not each other, it's our own government. Now, our founding fathers knew something like this was going to happen, and they empowered us with not just the ability, but the responsibility to overthrow a tyrannical government. We're very near to that. The powers that be want us fighting each other. They don't want us fighting them. So they're getting us caught up in ridiculous identity politics, the left-right paradigm, two wings of the same bird. Well, that bird's got its eyes on you, and it's looking like a snack. What happens in November is going to be critical. Regardless of the outcome of the election, I think there's going to be a dust-up. And I think that's exactly what they want. It's just something to think about. It's just something to remember. Don't fall for it. If you enjoy these videos, please take a moment to hit the like, subscribe, and share button. Since this is a new channel, all engagement helps. The more engagement, the more the channel grows, the more videos I make. Let's get back to it.
Dragons are real, and they've been trying to tell us this whole time. Y'all motherfuckers gonna love this one. At least that's what some people claim, and we may have even found actual proof in 2024. Even though in 1841, we already technically confirmed their existence, we just called them dinosaurs. As always, just a theory, but anyone with more than half a brain cell knows that. Common history tells us the most recent dinosaurs that roamed the earth went extinct around 65 million years ago. So why do we see them in countless ancient drawings and artifacts just a couple thousand years old? Way after they allegedly went extinct, but also before we started discovering their bones. We didn't even officially know what dinosaurs were until 1824, and they weren't even named dinosaurs until 1841. Before then, we had a different name for them: dragons. Nearly every culture of our past had their own version of a scaly, fire-breathing, flying lizard that brave warriors would face to protect their land. And we see these dino dragons in numerous Neolithic cave drawings around the world, painted into rock walls thousands of years old, well before we ever even knew they were a thing. Petroglyphs in Havasupai Canyon, Arizona, natural bridges, Utah, and even up around Lake Superior in Canada. And this is just the tip. I think you know where we're going. Over to Angkor Wat in Cambodia, we see more carvings of what looks like a stegosaurus. Carlisle Cathedral in England has etchings of animals unlike we've ever seen. Down in Australia, the Aborigines had this painting of a creature they hunted, and it don't look like anything I know. The Yuan Diao dragon figure from the Shang dynasty about 2000 BC, which looks almost exactly like a T-Rex. And I mean, ancient China is just filled to the brim with bronze statues thousands of years old that resemble our extinct lizard pals. Here's a Mesopotamian jasper cylinder seal from the Uruk period about 3500 BC, and if that ain't a long neck, then I don't know what to tell you. Mind you, these are all several hundred, if not thousands of years old, and they're all over the ancient world. Like, are those humans riding dinosaurs in a 16th century painting? And who can forget about the Acambaro figurines, a collection of 30,000 minifigures uncovered in Mexico of dinosaurs and humans riding them. Initial dating analyses estimated them to be about 4,500 years old, but follow-up stated they were made in the 1930s. So they can quickly dismiss them as a hoax, debunked, and move on, but evidence kept on coming. The Ica stones, a collection of more than 15,000 engraved stones which depict... what's that look like to you? Discovered in Peru, said to be over 1,000 years old, and again later claimed a hoax by the one who found them, some say out of force to avoid imprisonment. Is it possible that humans had contact, or at the very least knowledge of dinosaurs in ancient times? Absolutely not, unless they're not as old as we think they are. In 2003, a researcher, Dr. Mary Schweitzer, found a T-Rex femur that was so big they had to snap it in half for transport, something they usually don't do. They do that, take it back to the lab, and inside the bone they find preserved red red blood cells. They couldn't believe it. Red blood cells don't last very long, and soft tissue was thought to deteriorate even under the best of conditions within 1 million years. Never mind over 68 million years, even inside of a bone. They concluded it must be a new preservation method they were previously unaware of, which could be the case. Calm the f down. But since then, they started cracking open more dinosaur bones, finding veins and even soft organic tissue that was stretchy and had an odor, which led some to believe that it could be possible that maybe some dinosaurs were around much more recently than we thought. Before we knew what dinosaurs were, there was a different type of giant reptile that was found in many oral traditions and stories: dragons. Around the same time period in China, South America, Africa, Rome, Aboriginal Australia, we get legends and images of humans fighting off giant scaly winged creatures that flew and breathed fire. All the way up until medieval times, tales of dragons all around the world. So did everyone just coincidentally come up with the exact same mythical creature, or did they actually see it? And the ancient Chinese especially had a huge obsession with dragons as well. Just have a look at the Chinese zodiac. Have you ever thought, why does it have 11 real animals and then they randomly decided to throw in just one mythical creature, the dragon? Having 12 real animals makes more sense to me. Turns out they might have been onto something, because we may have just found a fossil of one in the heart of China. So the potential reason dragon bones might be so rare is because dragons could fly, just like birds. Birds have extremely light, low-density bones that don't fossilize very easily, and it's very likely that dragons would have had the same. Until recently, this was announced: discovered fossilized remains of a 5-meter-long reptile in southern China. Officially called Dinocephalosaurus orientalis, it has been dubbed the Chinese dragon fossil, as unlike any dinosaur fossil we've ever found. Although it's said to be 240 million years old, that's also exactly what they said about the dinosaurs. Did humans coexist with dinosaurs, and were dragons just a rare species of dinosaur that we hunted into extinction for the safety of our future?
I think he does a fantastic job presenting this argument. There are way too many artifacts worldwide depicting dinosaurs interacting with people, including people riding them, as he showed in his video. There is no way that they would have been able to do this, given that dinosaurs weren't even discovered until, what, the 1800s? So that does lead me to believe that dinosaurs did exist longer than perhaps we thought. It might not be that they roamed the earth in all corners, but it could be that there were some that were still alive. We know that certain reptiles, like alligators, don't die of old age. They are actually immortal in that they can only be killed. They won't just die. Is it possible that dinosaurs share that same trait, and that there were some that perhaps survived the supposed meteor strike and continued to live? Then the question becomes, where are they now? Were they hunted to extinction? On the topic of dragons, I do think that is just another type of dinosaur. We know that there were flying dinosaurs. We know that we got a T-Rex. We know we got a pterodactyl. Who's to say that there's no chance that there couldn't be some combination of the two? Some carnivore that looks like, kind of like a T-Rex but has wings and is able to fly? I saw a documentary, it was years ago now, it was back when YouTube was still free in the wild, wild west, but it was explaining how, and I think this might even have been a History Channel documentary, come to think of it, but it was explaining how dinosaurs, dragons in particular, were able to breathe fire. Apparently they would chew on platinum veins that were coming out of the tops of different mountains, and that platinum, it mixed with some kind of chemical in their belly and it allowed them to breathe fire, but it was only really good for one spit, then they had to go back and find some more. Obviously, I don't know what happened to the dinosaurs or dragons, but I do think that, like with most things, what mainstream historians and science is telling us is almost always a lie. And I think in this case, we can say for certain, humans interacted with dinosaurs.
And now we find out from the Bible why it is getting so hot outside. Now, according to the book of Enoch, the sun is supposed to shine brighter than normal in the last days. And we can see that that is exactly what is happening when you look at this red light, which is plastic. And as you can see, the sun has completely, not completely, but almost melted the whole plastic off of the yellow and the green light and is working on the red light. Now, there's an answer for this in the book of Enoch, and I'm going to read it for you. Now, I'm going to be reading from Enoch, the 80th chapter and the 5th verse, and it says, "And in those days the sun shall be seen, and he shall journey in the evening on the extremity of the great chariot of the west." Let me stop right there. Now the sun shall be seen. A lot of us might say, wait a minute, we see the sun every day, but we don't. We only see the corona of the sun. That is the shining bright light of the sun. That is what we see. The only time the sun can be seen is when it goes under the earth and the angels take the heat and the splendor off of the sun. Then you are able to see the sun. And look at my other videos where I showed the rays coming out of the sun. That is the sun under the earth. And that was taken straight from the NASA website. So that's not me coming up with those videos. But I'm going to say, well, when it journeys in the extremity of the west, that means it sets in the west. Now, when it sets in the west, a lot of people maybe think, well, why is the sun not going down, or why is it still bright outside? This is what's going to be happening. The sun will go to the west, and it will still be light outside for longer than normal. And this is because the book of Enoch is prophesying this, letting us know that these are signs from the Most High that the last days are here. And it says, it shall shine more brightly than accords with the order of light. Now, the reason why it's shining so brightly is that the sun is coming to an end. It's almost like a light bulb. Before the light bulb goes out, it gives this bright flash. And this is what the sun is going to be doing, and it is approaching that time. It's not there right now, but as you can see, it's getting there because of the heat that we are dealing with in these last days. It is so hot that you literally can't go outside and touch any black surface without getting burned or something. So, once again, the book of Enoch has proven that the Bible or the book of Enoch should never have been taken out of the Bible, and that the book of Enoch is the inspired word of God. I want to say God bless you and have a great night or day. Thank you for watching.
You know, I spent my entire adult life as an atheist or as an agnostic. But in the last year or so, I've been feeling a pull back to faith, back to religion. And I know I'm not the only one. I've been seeing a lot of other people saying the same thing, including some famous folks. One that comes to mind would be like Russell Brand, for example. I see what's going on in the world, and I feel like it really is possible that we might be living in the end times. Lately, it has felt like something's off. Now, I don't think humanity, even if we were to use all of the resources of our planet, has the capability of blocking out, replacing, or simulating the sun. But I have also seen a lot of reports of folks saying that there is something wrong. The sun is shining too bright. It's shining too hot. The streets are literally melting in some parts of the world. The oceans are heating up. I don't believe in global warming or man-made climate change, at least in the sense that it's described politically. Obviously, we have an impact on our climate. At the same time, the Earth is capable of changing the average temperature globally, plus or minus 30 degrees, at the flip of a switch. And it has done that plenty of times in the past. It goes through periods of warming and cooling. I don't think that's what this is. Lately, there have just been too many things happening in the world that make me lean towards end times, possibly even a artificial end times. Something to scare us into obedience by our government, maybe. We've had the red heifer sacrifice, that giant eclipse, Israel under attack. It seems like we're living in a clown world where evil is celebrated. It does make me wonder if perhaps we're about to get judged, or if our government just wants us to believe we're about to get judged. I don't know. I mentioned I don't think humanity has the capability of simulating or replacing the sun, which makes me wonder who does. That makes me lean towards celestial bodies. Now, one theory that I've been chewing on. Now, take this with a grain of salt. But I think the sun is possessed. I know it sounds strange, but it's a celestial body. Celestial body. I think that we are close to some kind of biblical battle. I think it's possible that Lucifer is gaining in strength, and he's getting ready to challenge God. Now, Lucifer is the morning star, the light bringer. What else would be the star of morning that brings light? The sun. Is it possible the sun is Lucifer? Is it possible it's heating up because he's getting stronger because of all the evil on our planet right now? What does that mean for us? We see the oceans are starting to heat up, wildlife is going crazy, storms are getting stronger and stronger, weather is doing things it shouldn't be doing in parts of the world that it hasn't done it before. It makes me wonder if dark elements of mankind are intentionally trying to set off some kind of apocalyptic events. Now this is, a very wild speculation, and even as I'm starting to feel the pull back to religion, there is still that same part of me that has been skeptical of religion and biblical things for my entire adult life that's clinging on. At the same time, I feel like it's getting harder and harder to deny. I've also been seeing a lot of videos from folks not only saying that there's something wrong, something different about the sun, but showing sunflowers acting in ways that they shouldn't. Sunflowers are meant to move to face the sun, at least until they get old. And then once they start to get old, they stay relatively stationary. But I've been seeing videos of full fields of sunflowers, beautiful, young, healthy, vibrant sunflowers, shunning the sun, turning their backs to it. And not just in one location or one field, but globally. I think something has changed since the eclipse. I don't know if it's something biblical. I don't know if it's something artificial. But I am having a harder and harder time believing in coincidence. But what do you guys think? Is our sun different? Are we living in some kind of biblical end times? Or are we just crazies? Let me know in the comments. All right, on that note, we'll go ahead and end today's video. I appreciate you joining me today, as always. And as always, if you enjoy what you see, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. As this is a new channel, all of your engagement helps to keep this channel growing. I'll see you next time.